Dennis Reimann is a programmer at BTCPay Server, an open source, self-hosted Bitcoin payment processor. In our conversation, we got into how BTCPay Server works, some of the features and plugins that may be built on top of BTCPay Server. We got into the benefits and drawbacks of using the Lightning Network as a merchant, and we got into value for value as a business model. Now, this is a Lightning podcast, so if you're enjoying this show, if you learn something new, the best way you can show your support is by sending in sats, comments, and questions over the Lightning Network. I read and answer every comment and question that comes in at the end of every show in the Lightning Round. Quick shout out, today's show is sponsored by Voltage. Voltage is the industry standard and next generation provider of Lightning Network infrastructure. Today's show is also sponsored by Zebedee. That is Zebedee, and Zebedee is your portal into the world of Bitcoin gaming. We'll have more from Voltage and Zebedee later in the show. Hope you enjoy the episode. Dennis, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me today. And I'm super excited to talk about BTCPay Server. It's a product I've been playing around with, I've been learning about, but I'd love to hear insight from someone on the ground building it. So maybe we can start with a discussion around what BTCPay Server is for those who aren't familiar.
Yeah, hey Kevin, thanks for having me and giving me the option to shill BTCPay Server to your crowd. So what's BTCPay Server? The way I explain it to people is it's basically a Bitcoin payment processor which can self-host. And to put it even easier, it's something like Bitcoin PayPal. So if you want to accept Bitcoin and do all that fun stuff, you can use BTCPay Server, host it yourself, and have a way to accept payments and send funds out, etc.
Right. Okay. Now, if you're thinking about BTCPay Server's mission here, and you think about merchant adoption and becoming the PayPal of Bitcoin, what does that look like over the next 10 years? What impact do you think BTCPay Server will have on merchants around the world?
I recently tweeted that I think, from my perspective, the mission statement of BTCPay Server is to give financial sovereignty to everyone, or make it available to everyone. And so for us, it's very important that the code is open source software and everyone can run it. So basically, it's also free to use, and merchants can adopt BTCPay to accept Bitcoin payments whenever they want. And
Yeah. Now, in a world where, let's just imagine for a second that every merchant in the world is using BTCPay Server. Maybe this is a parallel universe where everything's the same except every merchant is on BTCPay Server. They have full financial sovereignty over their funds. They don't have to deal with banks. They don't have to deal with credit card processors. What do you think changes? Like, are there other elements or second order effects that might come about? Maybe it's changes to the profitability of businesses. If they don't have to deal with these, big fees for processing payments. Maybe it's, the proliferation of new industries. Any second order effects that you think will come about in a world where everyone has full control of their money?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the obvious thing is that people don't need to pay enormous fees to third parties, which are just sitting by the wayside and nibbling away some of your proceeds. And in general, I think it will enable a better way to do commerce, because there's no middleman, there's no third party, and people can do commerce peer-to-peer like Satoshi imagined. And basically everything that Bitcoin enables for for the regular pleb, and BTCPay puts or gives the tooling to merchants to have a convenient way to basically accept Bitcoin and have accounting features, do the bookkeeping stuff, all the things we might still need in a world living in states and so on. But our general mission is to make these tools available to everyone, so that bringing upon such a hyper Bitcoinized world as you described would be easier or more accessible. Right.
Now today, do you have any insight into which kinds of merchants are using BTCPay Server? Do you have any, what do you guys collect in terms of user data? Do you have any insight into how people are using it? Is this primarily for brick and mortar merchants? Are online merchants picking it up faster? What's that kind of mix right now?
Yeah, we don't collect any kind of data, so which might feel as a limitation at first, because we don't operate as a startup which gets all kinds of telemetry data from their customers, and we don't have any fancy graphs on dashboards to show how many people around the world are using BTCPay right now. But I don't think that this is really important for us, and I think it's also in line with the general Bitcoin ethos of not doing such things. And we get a lot of feedback from our actual users, which come to our Mattermost chat. It's available at chat.btcpayserver.org and through our GitHub issues and discussions. And so we are oftentimes directly in contact with people that use BTCPay Server, and it's a really wide range of people that accept Bitcoin and how they do it. I mean, BTCPay is a very flexible tool, and you can accept Bitcoin either through an integration like WooCommerce or Magento, so you can have your web shop online and accept Bitcoin payments that way, or you can have a point of sale application inside your BTCPay store and put it up on an iPad in your cafe and so on. So basically, there are all kinds of ways to use BTCPay Server, and
Right. And so that's interesting. So because you're not collecting user data, I was initially thinking that are you missing out on any of the feedback from users? But if you're getting that direct feedback through GitHub and through chats, do you feel like that gives you enough information about what users are demanding and what kind of roadmap features they'd like to see implemented next?
Yeah, I think so. It's not just enough information, but I also think it's better information, because we are directly in contact. We can ask questions and get a feeling for what their use cases are. And together with our designer Destruct, I'm working a lot on the UI and UX side, and so we are really dependent on being in close contact with our users, and this is also what makes this process so enjoyable, because you're not sitting in your cave and coding away, but you are solving actual problems of actual users.
Right. That's awesome. Okay, I want to get into some of the features and plugins of BTCPay Server. I know you have a lot of them that you guys are working on. Can you share some that maybe listeners who maybe have heard of BTCPay Server, maybe even use it, maybe have not tried yet, or interesting features that you think everyone should know about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the basic feature set of BTCPay Server includes some groundwork stuff or kitchen sink stuff, like creating invoices, and that way customers can see a QR code and pay it. And basically invoices are the foundation of everything that's happening in BTC Pay. And in addition to that, there's also a payment request feature where customers can decide to pay an invoice. And at that point of time, a conversion rate is decided on. If you're denominating your invoices in fiat, for example, then there's a fiat to sats conversion rate, and they can pay that. You get bookkeeping and so on. And the general feature set building on that in BTC Pay are what we call apps, and we have basically a few of them. For example, there's a pay button people can integrate on their website, and whenever someone clicks it, you can get paid a fixed amount, or the customer can decide how many sats he wants to pay. And then there's also the crowdfunding app, which, for example, gets used by the Bitcoin Smiles project, which recently came up a lot, where dentists in El Salvador are collecting funds to basically take care of people there free of charge. And another app we have is the point of sale app, which I also mentioned earlier. And that's the basic feature set. And some time ago, basically, I think half a year ago, we also added the concept of plugins to BTC Pay. So what we want to do in the future is to shift everything towards plugins and make BTC Pay Core more of a general payment processing platform, and build specific use cases at the plugin level. And here we got several things. For example, I'm working on a plugin called LN Bank, which gives users gives BTC Pay hosts the ability to open up the internal BTC Pay Lightning node to their users and basically have a Lightning Bank based on BTC Pay Server as a layer 3 on top of BTC Pay Server.
Interesting.
So for the regular users, they don't have to care about setting up channels, funding them, providing liquidity, caring about rebalancing of those channels. All of that is abstracted away. The server admin takes care of that, and the user has just a neat and shiny interface to send and receive funds. And basically, it looks like a bank account. That's where the name is coming from.
Interesting. What do you think some of the other plugins might be in the future? What kind of applications might be most useful for some of these plugins? Basically you can build whatever you want. I mean, for example, another plugin I'm working on, which isn't released yet, but I hope there will be an early version out soon, is called PodServer. And this is inspired by the whole podcasting 2.0 and value for value movement. And also a bit because some month ago we had this whole discussion of Joe Rogan potentially being deplatformed from Spotify. We see things in terms of the trucker protests in Canada where people get deplatformed and so on. And so I thought it would be nice to have a way to self-host your podcast, and also be able to use all of these neat and shiny podcasting 2.0 features, like accepting streaming sats and so on. And so I started to build a podcast hosting server based on BTC Pay, which will bring all these shiny new features like the value block, etc., to BTC Pay and your podcast. Right. This is very cool. I want to get into both those plugins later in the show. Mm-hmm. But first, maybe I'd love to get a sense for, I get this vision. I really like this vision and the approach you guys are taking to making, payments more self-sovereign. But at the same time, I recognize there's going to be challenges along the way. And I think a lot of those challenges today, well, there's many layers of challenges, right? Like first is getting people to care about Bitcoin. Next is getting people on Lightning. Next is getting people integrated, getting their store set up. Like, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges today holding back BTCPay Server adoption? Is it a BTCPay Server specific constraint? Is it more broadly like Bitcoin and Lightning constraining adoption? What are those? What do you hear from users who don't set up a BTCPay Server store? Like, what are they saying is the reason why they're not today?
Yeah, you can look at it from different angles, I would say. And for the general BTCPay side or things we can potentially fix, it's certainly the ease of deployment or the setup of your own BTCPay server. I mean, there are multiple ways you can self-host, which is I'd say the most complex way to set up a BTCPay server, but you can also spin up BTCPay using third-party hosts like Lunarnode or Voltage offer a very integrated solution. And so on the setup side, I think we can improve the process and make it still easier for people. But in general, I think we kind of depend a bit on what we call the circular economy, because if there's no one who wants to pay Bitcoin or spend his precious sats, then merchants will have a hard time accepting Bitcoin if no one's out there to pay them. But thinking about it, one might say this is also a chicken and egg problem, which we are trying to solve because, as I said, BTCPay is free and open software, and which is our contribution to this circular economy, where merchants don't have to sign up for a payment processor, which takes enormous fees and so on. So we try to do our share by putting BTCPay out there as free and open software, and try to foster the whole ecosystem that way.
Yeah. How do you kickstart that economy? How do you get that chicken and egg problem solved? Like, if you're thinking about what merchants want, maybe what are some of the big selling points today? Like, are merchants more interested in, saving 3% on fees? Are they more interested in taking control of their funds? Are they more interested in instant settlement? Like, what are the big value props today that are getting merchants to come on board and kind of kickstart that chicken and egg problem, that feedback loop?
For me, I'm based in Germany, and here we don't have too many troubles with our regular currency yet. Nevertheless, we see a lot of adoption in places not just like El Salvador, but potentially something like Turkey, where the lira is struggling very much. And even here in Germany, people are becoming aware of the rising problems which fiat currencies have. And so in my experience, it's right now people that I'm onboarding or helping to set up BTCPay, they are coming from the side of experimentation. They want to explore the whole topic of Bitcoin and what this is like as an alternative solution to alternative financial system. And that's at least the side I'm seeing here, where the fiat system still kind of works.
Mm-hmm. Now we're kind of in this funny place right now where we see like I think you and I have this sense that the fiat system is getting weaker over time, and it's like pretty
For
visible to
sure.
Bitcoiners.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're pretty aware of that weakening, but I don't know that that has spread to the broader economy yet. I don't think
Yeah,
everyone
I
recognizes
agree.
that, and so I wonder, like as a intermediary step, do you view any benefit from integrating stable coins or anything like that into the product offering? Or is it kind of just like you want to get people directly onto Bitcoin, and that's kind of like the primary objective?
Yeah, for so the BTC Pay team is working on just on the Bitcoin side of features. Nevertheless, BTC Pay Server is also very flexible, and in the beginning there were also some people who started integrating some alt or shit coins, and at least we offer a way for people to do that, but we don't develop these solutions ourselves. And in general, to bring it back to the previous question a bit, I think the general problem is that people aren't really aware of Bitcoin as an alternative. But once you shill it to them, and they get a sense of what this is and how it is supposed to work, they easily grasp it. And because they are seeing rising problems like inflation and censorship and so on. I don't know. You're based in Canada, right?
Yep.
So basically, during the last month, something really weird happened there, and I don't know whether or not you would have thought that something like this would be possible a year ago. But now that people have seen what has happened in Canada, and that regular people who just want to donate to a campaign can get their bank account shut down. They are thinking about, well, is the money in my bank really my money, or can it easily be shut down?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The Bitcoiners that I've seen talking about the trucker protests on Twitter, most of them are. It seems like most of them are American. There's a few Canadians on there, but in general, I don't actually think many Canadians that aren't Bitcoiners really thought that was a big deal. Like, I think that was such a focal point for Bitcoiners, and this is again the same kind of realization that I'm having that I just mentioned is like I just don't know that people have fully grasped the weakening of this fiat system. I don't think they get it quite yet, and I wonder what those things are to get them there.
Yeah, I think it also depends a bit on your political standpoints and how you look at things like that, and maybe agree with what happened there. Nevertheless, as the fiat system is struggling, I think we will see more and more actions that constrain regular people, and so it's just a matter of time when this is coming for the regular Joe as well. And once this happens, there's no turning back, and Bitcoin can't be unseen as a solution.
Yeah, I wonder if the saving 3% on a transaction can be this almost like can that kind of counteract some of the inflationary pressures that merchants are seeing? Like,
no, I don't think so, that people are coming from this angle. Maybe in a very hyper Bitcoinized world, people might look at these things and wonder how they even accepted these terms 10 years ago or so. But nevertheless, I think right now the pull is more from the experimentation side, the tinkering, and also learning a bit about a new financial system by accepting Bitcoin. And yeah, I don't think that fees are such a pull factor, or the absence of fees,
Right.
because a lot of attraction was also brought up by the Lightning Network in general, because accepting Bitcoin for or on chain is. Yeah, well, I'm writing invoices to the BTCPay Server Foundation, and once a month, and they get paid on chain. Nevertheless, if you're a merchant with a cafe or selling smaller goods, Lightning is a way better user experience for the merchant and the customer as well. And I think a lot of interest was sparked for this whole commerce thing through Lightning. I also had a web shop for half a year where I was selling goods like T-shirts, hats, and cups, and so on. And I think we had about or I think it was 95% of the payments were through Lightning, and basically it was not large amounts, because larger amounts, 200 plus euro, oftentimes get paid on chain. Nevertheless, most of the commerce activity happens off chain now, at least when people start to accept or offer Lightning payments, and we are seeing this all across the board. Recently, also a competitor, closed source competitor of ours, BitPay, also integrated Lightning payments. And I think if you are not offering Lightning payments, you won't matter that much in the future.
Right. Yeah. So you said 95% of your store's transactions were happening on Lightning.
Yeah.
Do you think that is pretty representative of the overall state of things? I know you guys aren't, like collecting the exact data on, what percentage payments are Bitcoin versus Lightning, but what's your general sense, if you have to put a percentage on it?
I'm not sure. I think it depends on the amounts of your invoices in general. So, but I guess that amounts below 200 euros or $200 oftentimes get paid via Lightning.
Interesting. So if I've got a store and I'm selling, a $50 T-shirt or something, or a jacket.
But maybe it's just me being in the Bitcoin early adopter and Lightning bubble, and maybe this isn't really representative.
Yeah, I wonder, because I know one kind of counterpoint to this would be, I believe Bitrefill has Lightning integrations, but that only accounts for about 5% of all their transaction volume. Or all their transactions. Actually, I'm not sure if it's volume or transactions, but it's a very small, that to me was a small number. I thought it would be much higher from Bitrefill's side. So I'm trying to piece together these anecdotes here and figure out what that actual state of Lightning adoption is. But I generally agree that, if you're a store that's offering services and goods and you're not integrating Lightning, at this point, I think you're falling behind. Like maybe 2 years ago, you could make the case that, someone integrating Lightning was early, but I think that has rapidly shifted to you are now a little bit behind. You're not that far behind. You're not a leader now.
Yeah, I agree. And people, or at least in my bubble, we would expect this for merchants to accept Lightning, because for example, we have a strong meetup culture here in Germany. We have a lot of Bitcoin meetups, and oftentimes, at least. When a meetup was established and they met there for 2 or 3 times, they converted the merchant, or at least shilled Bitcoin to them, and said, well, it would be good if we could pay with Bitcoin here. And for our meetup here, we've been doing this for half a year now, and the place we go to gladly accept Bitcoin now, and we are paying our beers and food via sats, yeah, they really enjoy this process.
I hope you're enjoying the show so far. I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Voltage. Voltage is the industry standard for Lightning Network infrastructure. Creating layer 2 applications and services on top of Bitcoin starts with Voltage, where you can spin up nodes, get access to liquidity, optimize your node, and much more. Voltage is leading the way as the next generation provider of Lightning Network infrastructure. And if you want to get a free trial and start using Voltage today, you can do so at voltage.cloud. I want to get your sense for transaction fees on Bitcoin's base chain and Lightning. Where do you think they, what's this like equilibrium point over time? What could a merchant expect 5 or 10 years from now if they're using Bitcoin, if they're using Lightning to accept payments? What should they anticipate as kind of sustainable or typical fees? Maybe we can use the example of, someone selling a $50 shirt, just to give people some context, because I know it'll depend on whether the size of the transaction is large or small. But if I'm selling a $50 shirt and Lightning is at a mature state, what should I expect that transaction fee to be?
Well, if everything goes according to our plans, then in 5 years, I don't think that regular commerce will happen on-chain, because on-chain will be reserved for rather large transactions, and we won't get to a place where we pay our coffee with with on-chain Bitcoin. I think we are past that point already, and as I said, it's not just about the fees, but also the user experience, because paying with Lightning makes for a much better experience for the merchant and the customer. And this will also evolve into a situation where, I can't really say how much commerce might happen also on a layer above layer 2. For example, there might be Lightning custodial solutions like the plugin I mentioned, LN Bank, or other solutions are already out there like Blue Wallet and LN Bits and so on. And I think this might also evolve, because there's the potential to transact without any fees, because I think if everything goes according to plan, then also the fees on layer 2 will rise a bit. I don't think that we'll see routing nodes offering free payments just because they want to support the network, and there will be people who basically Lightning service providers will have to make some money to cover the server cost and cover also the funds locked up in channels and so on, and they will want to recoup some of that, and there will be players who will also have a financial incentive to become a routing provider and so on.
Yeah, that's what I wonder, because I agree that routing nodes are going to want to earn more money, and that's something that would be, I think, healthy for the ecosystem if they did. I wonder, is there a world in which transaction fees exceed the 3% that you're getting from Visa and MasterCard today, if it's happening on Lightning? Is that possible, or do the incentives of Lightning then make it so that other people jump in with more liquidity, lowering fees, having different routes through the network? Is there a world in which fees could actually be higher on Lightning, or is that something that's not realistic?
I'm not sure. Maybe this is too far off, and I mean, of course, there might be cases where if you are using layer 2 and maybe are using the wrong route, potentially because there aren't many, and you want to do a larger payment, that you will need to pay a fee close to 5% or so on. yeah, all of that might happen. Nevertheless, I think we won't get to a point that fees are too high in general, because there will always be an economic incentive for people to spin up smaller routing providers with less general cost, and they can have their operating cost at a point where they can offer low fees and still survive, and so on.
Yeah.
And I think, as I said, this whole layer 3 or layer 4 stuff might also become more prominent in the future, because not everyone will be able or will want to set up his own Lightning node and care about channel management and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't expect fees to be higher, but I wonder where that equilibrium point is. At what point do smaller routing nodes or non-Lightning payment processors decide there's a lot of fees to be made here. I'm going to jump in, I'm going to lower fees on the network, and I'm going to earn from that.
And there are also different models to cover the cost. For example, there's this guy, zero fee routing, who basically sets everything up so that people afterwards don't have to pay any fees anymore, as the name says. But the ones who are opening the channels pay for that cost upfront and so on.
Yeah, I've got a interview with zero fee routing coming up tomorrow or the next day. Very excited. I got a lot of questions for zero fee routing.
Cool. I think he might be a better person to talk about all of that fee stuff.
Fair enough.
I am.
Okay, let's get into BTCPay servers, the foundation, and it seems like there's no business model, and it's not a for-profit entity today. Do you see that changing over time? Maybe you can give us a high-level understanding of what the foundation is, how that works, how the project's being sustained today, and whether or not it makes sense to be a for-profit business over time.
Yeah. Basically, the foundation is the legal entity behind BTCPay, and as you said, it's not for profit. It has some supporters, like in the past, Kraken have supported it and donated larger amounts of money to us or towards the foundation. Spiral BTC is also a big supporter of us, Async, and a lot of firms in the industry have helped us with donations varying from small to large. And basically, we have this entity to support the development of BTCPay Server. And I don't imagine that there will be a future where we turn this into a company or do closed source software, because as I said, our goal is to bring financial sovereignty to basically everyone, and enable a hyper-Bitcoinized future by open source software. I don't know of any plans to come up or turn this into a product and make tons of money.
Interesting. Is there a world in which maybe this isn't BTCPay Server, maybe this is someone else, but is there a world in which you can have free and open source software and a for-profit business combined? Or, I guess it wouldn't be free necessarily. It would be open source software maybe, but not free software?
Yeah, I think so. And in the Bitcoin space, we also saw a few examples of that. For example, foundation devices built their stuff based on a lot of work that the Cold Card guys did, and in general, we don't know for sure, but potentially when Tesla was thinking about accepting Bitcoin payments. They also helped us a bit with security review and so on. At least we know they evaluated BTCPay Server and took a closer look at it. And maybe they are still running a BTCPay Server. It would be open to basically everyone to run a BTCPay Server and don't let anyone know about it. And we, as I said, we aren't collecting any data, so we don't even know it for ourselves who's running BTC Pay, and that would be perfectly fine.
Right. I guess what I'm getting at is I see Bitcoin has these two kind of communities, and I don't know that they're mutually exclusive, but on the one hand, the Bitcoin ethos of free and open source software started on day one, when the white paper and the code was published. And that is definitely prominent in the Bitcoin community. But then there's also a side that's very much in favor of like free market capitalism, and that drives better products and it creates better outcomes over time. And so I wonder in thinking about how to design the best product at BTCPay Server, why is the route of, maybe corporate sponsors or someone to kind of like fund a foundation better than taking a small fee and, letting the market kind of dictate whether or not you are creating a valuable product? Like what's that? How do you think about those two models and whether or not like the free and open source one is the correct way or the way to achieve the best final product?
I think this is a good question. I can only speak for myself, but I think others might, from our team, might see it the same. Our goal is to work on it with as much freedom as possible, have it as open as possible, and don't be constrained by things that a sponsor or whatever wants us to work on. For me, this is a lot of the motivation behind it. I'm working on BTCPay Server full-time for 2 years now, and I couldn't imagine to be as motivated as I am if I'd still have some kind of boss or customers that decide on our roadmap. But we are doing all of that ourselves. We are, as I said, focused a lot on the user feedback, and that's how we come up with plans to in which direction we want to grow the software. And at least for me, this is very important.
Right. Now, I wonder if there's a way to extend the idea of the sponsors that have helped out so far. So I think you mentioned Kraken and Spiral and some of the others in the Bitcoin community. Is there a way to extend that to users as well, and to make it so that users can fund BTCPay Server but don't have an obligation to? What I'm specifically thinking about is the value for value idea, where maybe I run a BTCPay Server store and it's free. You tell me it's free, but I also have the option to kick back 1% to you because I want to continue seeing you guys innovate on the product. Like, have you thought at all about incorporating that as a model where it's like not by obligation, but anyone with a BTCPay Server store could choose to kick back funds to support the development of the project?
Yeah, that would be a great use case for yet another plugin one could build. Right now, we don't offer that functionality, but we rely more on people donating our ways. So the BTCPay Server Foundation doesn't accept small donations from individuals. We point individuals to our general donation page where they can find the profiles and donation links of the individual contributors. Nevertheless, what you described with having some kind of split payment option for a store, that would be possible. And actually, that's also something I'm building into the PodServer plugin, which I described, because this whole value split idea is coming from this podcasting 2.0 movement, where you can split the funds between the host and the guest, for example, and maybe you can also automatically give 10% to the producer of the show and so on. And the way I'm going to implement it in PodServer is that everyone who uses the plugin has the option to say, well, it's such a nice piece of software which I want to support, and at the value split level, 1 or 2% directly go towards Dennis so that he can keep on making it better. And
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's also a very good and natural fit because, it's baked into the protocol, and even the podcast index is doing the same for the feeds they are hosting. And as I said, I think it's a natural fit, and people will happily donate.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they're making a business model out of it. Like they're using value for value. They're like dog fooding the whole idea, right? They're promoting it, and they're also using it in their day-to-day lives. So yeah, I have to imagine there's other use cases where that could apply outside of podcasting. I think I was having a conversation with the guys at Albi about this, and they're also in, I think the stage of the project right now is it's an open source project. It's not formally like a company right now. I don't believe there's any revenue of any kind today. And I had suggested that idea of like, what happens if you allow users to kick back some funds if they want? And
yeah,
I'd have to believe that's possible.
Yeah, it's a very cool way to solve this donation and potentially any other use case to split payments. And basically, this is kind of a smart contract based on Lightning, and it enables so many use cases which weren't possible before. And now we can do all that smart shit just because we have micropayments and can even split 5 sets across 5 people.
Yeah. One thing I'd really love to do is, and I'm looking for like a really, really easy way to do this, and I think this is going to be something that can be built pretty quickly, is to be able to have guests on this show instantly send me their Fountain username or something, or their Lightning address, and I can just instantly input it into a split. I don't have to worry about like what your public key is. I don't have to worry about like, getting some obscure string of numbers and letters from you. I can just put your name in or put your username in, and instantly have that split functionality in the show. And potentially, I think it would be cool to do that with listeners too. I think someone suggested on the show a little while ago that I should have a split for the best comments. So like if someone sends in a great comment on this show, then I can add them in as a split, and they can forever receive, a percentage of the revenue for the great comment, or maybe it's the next show. But I think that's a really cool idea, and it changes the way a podcaster interacts with their audience and with the guest.
Yeah, and you can also incentivize your listeners to also contribute something like chapters or artwork or maybe even translations, transcripts, etc. And as you said, once this smart contract is established and the value block of an episode says 5% go towards this person, another 5% towards this person, they will earn sats as long as the node is up and people basically receive value from your show so that they are happy to donate.
Yeah. Do you think that split payment functionality will make its way to more traditional merchants at all? Like where if I have a t-shirt shop, there's a lot of people that went into making that.
I mean, this is a feature you could use to automate a lot of things. As I said, the shop that I had, I was using a drop shipping provider, and I paid them in fiat, and then I received Bitcoin and so on. Nevertheless, if they'd be able to accept Bitcoin, I could pay them even at the level where I get paid, because I could branch off their cost to them, and I could then just take my amount, and all kinds of things are possible using this model, and I think it will grow beyond what we are seeing in podcasting today.
Mm-hmm. I think also it could be a useful tool to have these splits available for traditional media outlets. Like if, we're seeing like power struggles between some of the large news outlets and some of the writers there. A lot of people have gone independent because they can make more money that way. But what if every news article had everything on the New York Times or Wall Street Journal had 50% of boosts or tips or whatever you want to call them go directly to the author, and then 50% go to the publication, or something like that, where the author has like a direct, you can kind of see how much they're making, and you know that when you contribute, you're actually contributing to that person, and not just this like huge organization, and maybe this has a parallel in donations as well, in charity work, where you can see exactly who gets funds through these lightning splits.
Yeah, and in general, I think it's not just about the financial incentive. I think it's also, it makes for a very good feedback mechanism for the content creator or merchant or who's ever at the receiving end, because every time you get such a payment, it's a strong signal that people like what you do. And for instance, in podcasts, being able to potentially see the boosts with timestamps and markers where you said something or highlighted what kind of topic and so on. This is signal to you, and it's a very direct form of feedback you receive.
Yeah, the messages I think are among the coolest parts. It's just really cool to see people sending in and writing, messages and questions about, there's people that are going to write in comments and questions about this episode.
Yeah.
It's very cool to see.
Looking forward to reading them.
Yeah. Tell me more about the PodServer project, and I guess how is this something that I or any other podcaster could use to host all their content? Is that the idea there?
Yes. As this is a BTCPay Server plugin, you will need a BTCPay Server for that. You can then install the plugin and basically create your podcast and then add episodes to it. And to this episode, you can then assign people which have their Lightning node and so on. And the plugin will take care of assembling all of that information and giving people an RSS feed they can subscribe to, and that way you have an option to self-host your podcast, be free from this censorship problem, and also do all this nice and shiny podcasting 2.0 stuff. That's basically the idea. As I said, it's not released yet. I hope that there will be at least an early version sometime soon, because I shilled this plugin to some friends who have podcasts, and they are now nagging me about it every week or so. And there's a lot of cool stuff we can build, because here in Germany, in the 21 group, which is our podcast, we have a lot of side projects as well, and we have a few musicians who want to release an album using this plugin, and receive sets via the value for value model and so on. And I'm looking forward to bring out a version 0.1 myself, because I think there's a lot of stuff to be built in the podcasting 2.0 space, and I want to participate there from the developing side as well.
Yeah. So do you think it's possible for I get the idea. So I can host my own show on potentially like my, like Umbrel node, or if I want a professional solution, I could use Voltage, tie that to BTCPay, and host it there. Is there a way to make it so that I can host other people's shows, or someone else can host my show and I can pay them for it? Like, is there a way to do this, like, peer-to-peer distributed file sharing or file hosting? I don't really know enough about the business model of podcast hosting platforms today, like a fiat podcast hosting platform. Like, how are they making money today? And is there a way to integrate Lightning payments in a way that, like, I have an extra terabyte sitting around, I can all of a sudden host 100 different podcasts from all these different people and potentially earn a fee on something somewhere along the line? Is that possible?
Well, it won't be possible with version 0.1. Nevertheless, what you described would be a perfect fit and a great use case. So right now in BTCPay Server, the whole storage side is already abstracted away. The easiest solution is you can say, well, use the regular file system on this computer, but you can also hook up your AWS or Azure account, so those files get uploaded there. And potentially someone could offer a hosting solution with a content distribution network included and so on. And if they offer that, their incentive might be to be included in the value block as well, and then maybe grab 5% of your proceeds for being a host of your show. That would also be a very natural fit again.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of very cool implications once you can split these payments and have money flow instantly across the Lightning Network.
Yeah, what I really like about this is it's such an easy solution, and it brings so much functionality once you start to think about it. So I think the term smart contract fits well here, and the nice thing from a technical perspective is that it's rather easy, and you can get a lot of stuff done with it.
Are there any other interesting use cases you're looking to see from split payments? Like anything that you think someone's got to build this? Someone, like, this is a very obvious use case for splitting payments, and no one's done it yet.
I'm exploring all of that right now in terms of the podcasting side and so on. But I think we also came across a few few things that might be interesting to look at, even in terms of BTC Pay. Basically, everywhere where someone can provide value, being it as a host or someone who does the bookkeeping for your store or so on. I mean, the possibilities are basically limitless, and all it requires is a bit of bits and bytes to be turned into software. And basically, this is something I really like about BTCPay Server, because we have a few people on our team who have crazy ideas, and once we just discuss them, we turn them into at least a prototype version of code rather quickly, and get to experiment with stuff like that. And all of this wouldn't be possible if we would be a for-profit company with a fixed roadmap and a boss and so on. And so BTC Pay to us is still something we can tinker on and shape it the way we want to see this hyper-Bitcoinized world.
Right. That's interesting. Okay. So it gives you more room to experiment when you don't have to appeal to a single boss. Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Now I want to finish off with a couple questions. First, what are some of the interesting applications outside of BTCPay Server that you've been noticing in the Lightning space? Is there anything in particular that you want to call attention to?
Yeah, you already mentioned the project Albi. I think this will also be something that makes Lightning and Bitcoin in general more accessible to people, and it will also facilitate more use cases like the paywall problem and so on. And I think Albi has the potential to make experiences in the browser very seamless and frictionless. And I'm really looking forward to what they come up with in the future.
And do you see like integrations forming between Albi and BTCPay Server more deeply? Is there anything that you think might be useful to work on together? Because I know, like, if Albi's kind of the tool that you're using for payments on the web, and if you guys are this like point of sale, or like an endpoint for merchants, there's got to be some connection there when it comes to e-commerce. Is that something you think you guys might work on together, or what might integration look like between Albi and BTCPay Server?
Well, in general, there might be solutions in terms of interoperability. For example, the LN Bank plugin, which I mentioned, might be a good backend for Albi. So it would be nice to have a way to integrate your own LN Bank wallet into Albi so that you can pay with sats from that wallet. And that might also happen kind of soon, #2 weeks, because as far as I know, they have an integration or at least interoperability layer with LND Hub, which is what sits behind Blue Wallet. And I also want to open up LN Bank to Blue Wallet users so that they can use the Blue Wallet app with the LN Bank.
Okay, so break this down for me real quick. I'm not super technical, so you're gonna have to go a little slow here. But LND Hub and LN Bank, what would the similarities and differences be between those two?
Yeah, in general, they are from a conceptual level, they are quite the same, because they are both application solutions on top of a Lightning node, and they offer accounts based on basically it's a layer 3 application, and they have an API to connect Blue Wallet, which is their app, to the underlying LND hub. And in LN Bank, I can build an API which is compatible with their API. And that way, users of the Blue Wallet app could also connect the app to LN Bank.
Right. Okay. And what
That's
benefits
the
would they
idea.
get from LN Bank that they wouldn't get on LND Hub?
They would be able to use the app to access their wallet and don't have to use the LN Bank web interface. So basically, it would give them a mobile app which I would not have to develop myself because it's compatible with Blue Wallet, and I can show my LN Bank users just a QR code to connect Blue Wallet to LN Bank, and then they are good to go. And I think this is also what Albi does.
Interesting. Yeah, I know I've seen LND Hub appear a bunch on Albi
Yeah.
when playing around with it, but the technical details have kind of gone over my head a little bit. One more final question for you. Has there been any surprises for you in the last year or so, watching Lightning development, watching Bitcoin development? Anything that stuck out as surprising for you?
Not Lightning in general, but I thought this whole El Salvador thing to be to be rather early, or at least I didn't expect it to be so early that nation states adopt Bitcoin. In hindsight, it was kind of obvious, but yeah. No, for Lightning, I'm not sure. I would need to think about it some more.
What's your assessment of El Salvador since their integrations, I guess? Have you spoken with many El Salvador merchants? What's your impression of how deeply Lightning is being integrated today within the country?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance yet to go there myself. Nevertheless, I have a few friends who went there, and someone from our team was also there, or at least they have close ties. Pavlenex, for example, started this Bitcoin Smiles project and was in close contact with people on the ground. And from what I'm hearing, the Lightning and Bitcoin adoption isn't as far as one might get the impression on Bitcoin Twitter. Nevertheless, I think it helps those people who started to accept Bitcoin and Lightning, and yeah, it basically banks a whole lot of people who didn't have access to the financial system before. And even though there will always be things which can be improved, and the whole situation might not be ideal, so things like legal tender, well, you have to accept it, which can also be seen as some kind of force, or at least not adoption by free will. Nevertheless, I think it helps people on the ground, and it will bring upon good things for El Salvador. At least that's what I hope.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you for taking the time today. This has been an incredible conversation. Where can people go, listeners, where can they go to find out more about you and the work you do?
For me personally, it's they should just go to Twitter. It's _D11N_, which is my handle there. And for the rest of the stuff we've talked about, it's just btcpayserver.org, and you will find everything there. And yeah, feel free to contact me or the other devs on our MetaMost. This is where we hang out. It's chat.btcpayserver.org. Yeah, and I think that's it. Thanks for having me. I also really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you for taking the time, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Awesome. Thanks.
Welcome to the Lightning Round presented by Zebedee, your portal into the world of Bitcoin gaming. The Zebedee app, that is Zebedee, is a full-featured Lightning wallet and allows you to earn Bitcoin for playing games. Now, I thought it'd be fun to spice things up a bit. So if you go download the Zebedee app, you'll get a chance to compete against me and earn some extra sats. Each month, I'll be playing a different Zebedee game. And you can find them all in the Zebedee app. But this month, I'm going to play Sarutobi. Now, my high score on Sarutobi is currently 625 meters on flyby mode. So if you go download the Zebedee app and beat my high score, send me a screenshot of it on Twitter, as well as your Zebedee gamer tag, and I'll send you some extra sats. Good luck. Here we go, lightning round. In the last 7 days, you guys sent in 69,182 sats, 16 different supporters, 7 different messages. Thank you to everyone who's contributing, and great work on the round 69,000 number this week. Let's get into the top 5 supporters. First supporter, the top supporter this week, comes in from Albie. So in my podcast descriptions and in all my YouTube video descriptions, I include a Lightning address. It's kr@getalby.com. Anyone can send money over the Lightning Network using the Lightning address, the human readable Lightning address. And this week, someone sent in 50,000 sats and said, "Your podcasts are awesome, Kevin. Keep up the good work." So I don't know who that is. It's an anonymous user. There's no username attached to it. But whoever you are, thank you for the 50,000 sats. And thank you for the kind words. The remaining of the top 5 this week, we have Gur_Lentel sent in 6,468 sats. Mary Oscar sent in 3,626 sats. Zeitgeist sent in 1,960 sats. And BitBoom also sent in 1,960 sats. We got a couple other messages in addition to that one from Albie. We have DPG who sends in 761 sats and says, "I found this on Stacker News, great episode." I'm happy to hear both reasons, DPG. I'm happy to hear that you found this on Stacker News, and I'm happy to hear that this was a great episode. Stacker News has been growing like a weed lately. Kian's really building something special there, and if you haven't checked out Stacker News, for anyone listening, definitely give it a shot if you are a Bitcoiner, if you want to use the Lightning Network. This is a great example of a smooth user interface, accessing the Lightning Network, earning sats, value for value. Stacker News has it all. And I'm really glad you enjoyed, this was episode 33 that DPG was referring to with Pierre Rochard. I'm glad you enjoyed that episode as well. It is becoming one of the most popular episodes to date. That kind of goes into Kraken's Lightning integration. So if you haven't checked that one out yet, give it a listen. And Bobby sends in 49 sats and says, "Let's go, heart emoji, voltage.cloud." Thank you for the sats and the comment, Bobby. This was in episode 38 with John Cantrell. So I'm really excited to see what you guys send in this week. I've got another episode coming out in a couple more days, and we've got a big week next week. So can't wait to see all your comments and questions, and I'll see you in a few days.